Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the situation on the ground and the most important events that took place during the previous night on the local time. First we're going to start with Kherson. Almost nothing happened during the previous night, just a few drone strikes exchanged. The Ukrainians, for example, discovered the Russian positions in the small settlement Dnieprany. The Ukrainians managed to find the Russian boat center, and as a result of drone strike, those boats were destroyed, and basically the Russians lost some possibilities to be flexible and mobile along the Dnieper River. From the other side, the Russians also discovered another Ukrainian boat that was were running somewhere along Dnieper River. Probably it were trying to man some landing operation. The Russians discovered the Ukrainian drone, and as a result of strike, that boat of Ukrainian forces was destroyed. So after the Ukrainians launched their bridgehead in the vicinity of Kazachye Lagery, we see the reduce of actions. The actions have been reduced almost till zero, just the regular artillery duels and the clashes along the Dnieper River. Now we are moving further to the Bradley Square, and today during the previous night, we got a lot of updates. If you remember, yesterday there was a very fierce tank battle in the southern area. During the previous night, the Ukrainians made a lot of attempt to send more infantry and forces inside of the Rabotina. Currently, the northern part is in the gray zone. There are a few probably Ukrainian platoons inside of the settlement that are hiding between the almost reduced to ruins buildings. The Ukrainians still don't have enough of manpower, so they still don't have critical mass inside of the settlement to continue clearing operation and to clear the southern and the western part of the settlement. So basically, the Ukrainians are sending like the groups of soldiers with 2, 3, 4 soldiers inside of group. The Russians track the entire situation, the settlement, and when the Russians see the Ukrainian positions, they start bombing and shelling these positions, these machine guns positions of the Ukrainian forces. So basically, according to the geolocated confirmations, we have the Ukrainians 400% sure controls the northern part of the settlement, and the Ukrainians control the eastern part of the settlement, but not the entire even area. Probably the situation is something like this. So everything that's located on the north of this yellow line is under Ukrainian control, and probably everything that located on the east of this yellow line also is under Ukrainian control. Currently, the Ukrainians try to accumulate the critical mass for the further offensive operation to the southern part of this area. Furthermore, we got some updates from the eastern flank of this area. Today, the Ukrainian sources published the video how they were bombing and shelling the Russian positions along the forest line. So basically, which first of all confirms the Russian control over this area, and the second thing is that Ukrainians, at least on this bridgehead on the Bradley Square, have at least two purposes, two goals. First one, to capture Rabotina, and to capture Rabotina before the 24th of August, before the Independence Day of Ukraine, and the second direction is develop the bridgehead in direction of Verbovo. For example, on this video, we see, according to the author of this video, how the Ukrainian Leopard tank was attacking the Russians' positions somewhere along the forest lines. The Ukrainians were attacking the Russian trenches right in front of Verbovo. So there was a Ukrainian tank was located somewhere in this area, and from this hidden position, the tank was attacking the Russian trenches. So that was the situation that you've just seen on the video. So this was like this. Furthermore, the Russians continue publishing of drone attacks against the Ukrainian forces, who currently try to hold the bridgehead in the trenches between Verbovo and Rabotina, this area. A lot of losses from the Ukrainian side, and so on. Today, this morning, the Russians have already reported about another attack of the Ukrainian forces in direction of Rabotina. During the previous night, they were sending like small groups of infantry, and when the day comes, they launched another massive attack to the south in direction of the eastern and the southern part of that settlement. Now we're moving further to the Vremivka tactical bridgehead. With the Ukrainians, during the previous days we discussed, made another attempt to attack the Russians among the fields. Their positions were discovered, and then the Russians made artillery strike, and the Ukrainian forces were completely defeated and destroyed. We saw a lot of video and photo confirmations of that terrible suicide operation. probably that was something like reconnaissance in combat or reconnaissance in force. The Ukrainians lost probably up to 5-6 armored vehicles and up to 20 or 30 personnel of forces. Furthermore, the Russians during the previous night were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions in the settlements like Makarovka. The Russians were bombing the Ukrainian positions in Staromayorsk. The Russians were bombing the Ukrainian positions in Urozhaine. And the main purpose of those bombings is that night is the only period of time when the Ukrainians can regroup and to accumulate their forces on the combat line. Basically, the settlements like Staromayorsk, Makarovka, and Urozhaine are located first of all in the lowland, and the second thing that these settlements are located on the combat line. And there are still a lot of mines, there are still a lot of job to do to prepare a normal bridgehead, normal clear, secure area, and when moving during the day, the Ukrainians are very slow. So that's why the Russians have possibility to destroy their forces massively. The only good time for the Ukrainians when they can attack without being with less risk to being discovered and attacked by the Russians is during night period of time. And the Russia, for example, during the previous night of the local time, the Ukrainians made a lot of attempt to regroup and to send as much as possible forces to the combat line. As I understand, no matter the Russian artillery strikes and so on, the Ukrainians of course managed to do this, and this morning we need to expect, and this day we need to expect more attempts from the Ukrainian side to attack in direction of Zavitne Bazhanye, among the fields in direction of Staromlynovka, and of course in direction of the this small salient between Piryutin and Zavitne Bazhanye as well. So today we're going to see more clashes, more fierce battles. One more time, 24th of August is the Independence Day of Ukraine and the anniversary of the beginning of the Ukrainian offensive operation the last year. So anyway, before that day, the Ukrainians will try to achieve as much as possible on the combat lines. When talking about Donetsk, there are no updates. The only interesting update we got from the vicinity of Novobakhmutovka on the north of Krasnogorovka, the Russian sources published some photo from very reliable resource that as a result of offensive operation that took place somewhere between the settlements like Alexandropol and Keramik, the Russians managed to capture a few more checkpoints. We haven't received any video or photo confirmations of that attack, but according to the author, something like this was captured by the Russians during the previous night. So we'll see, because if it's true, of course, this is another problem for the Ukrainians, because this bridgehead gives the Russians opportunity to establish fire control over settlements like Keramik or like Novokalinovo and of course Alexandropol, and give the Russians opportunity to develop their offensive operation further. When talking about Bakhmut, we haven't received almost nothing, just regular video updates about from the Russian side how they were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions among the forests. Also during the nights, the bombing of the Ukrainian positions in the forest on the north of Klishchiivka. And on this video we see the usage of Grad system. Probably as a result of that attack, a few checkpoints and strongholds of the Ukrainian forces was destroyed. We don't know the number of losses, but we see that the Russians are trying to force the Ukrainians to step back, and probably this is some kind of episode of artillery preparation before the next wave of Russian counter-offensive operation in this direction. From the Ukrainian side we got the video how they discovered another Russian position somewhere in the vicinity of Andreevka, and as a result of artillery strike, that artillery position was destroyed by the Ukrainian artillery system. When talking about Kupinsk front line, we haven't received nothing during the previous night, and just another video of the Ukrainians how they destroyed the Russian air defense system somewhere in the vicinity of Kremenaya. So another geolocated video. The only thing I would like to remind you one more time that according to information we have, the Azov battalion, the Azov brigade was redeployed in the vicinity of Kremenaya forest, which means that soon this area is going to be very important for the Ukrainians, and this area is very important, and that soon we're going to see some heaviest clashes in direction of Kremenaya and from the Ukrainian side. Probably the Ukrainians will try to make a counter-offensive operation. The Storm Brigade of Azov was redeployed in this area not for the purpose to defend the Ukrainian forces, but to attack and to gain more territories. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds me to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.